The emergency alarm blared across the medical facility of the Galactic Interstellar Hospital as Senior Surgeon Kezlo rushed down the corridor, his forearms rapidly adjusting his surgical attire. In his 15 stellar cycles as the leading xenosurgeon on Station Vermilion, he had never encountered a situation that truly challenged his medical expertise until today. Status report. Kezlo demanded as he burst through the doors of Emergency Bay 3, where a team of alien medical professionals hovered around a body on the central table. Assistant Surgeon Nyx, her scales reflecting the harsh medical lighting, looked up with her 3 eyes widening in concern. Human male, approximately 30 Earth years. Severe trauma from shuttle crash. Multiple lacerations, internal bleeding, fractured ribs, and significant blood loss. Kezlo approached the table, studying the unconscious human. The patient's skin was unnaturally pale, his breathing shallow and irregular. Blood bright red, so different from the various blues and purples Kezlo typically worked with soaked through the emergency pressure bandages. Name? Kezlo asked, connecting to the medical database through his neural implant. Vincent Cooper, replied Medical Officer Tren, checking the identification chip scanner. Earth diplomat en route to the Centauri negotiations. His shuttle malfunctioned during docking procedures. Kezlo's upper hands reached for the scanning equipment while his lower set began preparing sterilization fields. Prepare for immediate surgery. He's losing blood too quickly. Already processed, sir, Nyx said. But there's a problem. Kezlo paused, his 4 eyes focusing on her. Problem? The human requires blood transfusion, but our synthesizers aren't programmed for human hemoglobin structures. And, she hesitated, the scan shows something called type O negative. Type what? Kezlo's membrane lids blinked in confusion. Apparently humans have different blood classifications. It's in their medical files, but none of us have encountered it before. Kezlo made a dismissive gesture with his lower right hand. Irrelevant. Blood is blood, it carries oxygen and nutrients. Our universal plasma substitute will work fine. Medical Officer Tren stepped forward, his tentacles nervously intertwining. Sir, with respect, human physiology is significantly different from our usual patients. Their medical files specifically warn against incompatible transfusions. Nonsense, Kezlo said. In my 15 years of xenosurgery, I've never once needed to worry about types of blood. The notion is primitive. Blood serves the same function across species. Our substitute works on everything from Arcturians to Zitlians. The monitoring equipment suddenly emitted a series of urgent beeps as Vincent's vital signs dropped further. We don't have time for theoretical debates, Kezlo declared. Prepare the universal substitute. We need to stabilize him now. The team moved with practiced efficiency, connecting tubes and preparing equipment. As the clear, slightly luminescent universal blood substitute began flowing into Vincent's veins, Kezlo turned his attention to the most serious internal injuries. But something was wrong. The human's body temperature spiked dramatically. The monitoring equipment screeched in alarm as Vincent's body began convulsing violently. What's happening? Kezlo demanded, all 4 hands working furiously to stabilize the patient. Nyx frantically checked readings on her diagnostic panel. His immune system is attacking the substitute. It's triggering a massive inflammatory response. Impossible, Kezlo insisted, though the evidence was undeniable. Stop the transfusion immediately. Tren disconnected the tubes while Nyx administered anti-inflammatory compounds. Vincent's convulsions gradually subsided, but his vitals continued to deteriorate. He's still bleeding internally, Kezlo observed, momentarily at a loss. In all his years of practice, he had never seen a patient reject the universal substitute. We need to find an alternative immediately. Medical Officer Tren hesitantly raised a tentacle. Sir, there are 3 other humans aboard the station, part of the diplomatic team. Perhaps one of them could donate compatible blood. Kezlo considered this. It seemed primitive, archaic even, but they were running out of options. Contact them. Immediately. While Tren rushed to communicate with the human delegation, Kezlo focused on slowing Vincent's internal bleeding. His training had never emphasized these supposed blood types. Such biological minutiae seemed irrelevant in an age of advanced medical technology. Minutes later, 3 humans burst through the doors of Emergency Bay 3, their faces tight with concern. "I'm Elena Anders, Vincent's diplomatic partner," said a female human with short dark hair. "These are Marcus Wright and Daniel Thompson, also from our team. How can we help?" Kezlo looked up from his work, two hands still managing the surgical field, while his other pair gestured toward Nix. "Your colleague requires blood. Apparently, your species has variations in blood composition that make our universal substitute incompatible." Elena nodded quickly. "Yes, blood types. What's Vincent's type?" "Type O negative," Nix answered. The three humans exchanged glances. Marcus stepped forward. "I'm type A positive, not compatible." Daniel shook his head. "Type B positive here." Elena's expression brightened slightly. "I'm O negative, a universal donor for humans. I can give blood." Kezlo's membrane lids blinked rapidly in confusion. "Universal donor? If you have a universal blood type, why does your species need multiple types at all?" Elena was already rolling up her sleeve. "It's not that simple, and frankly, this isn't the time for a biology lesson. Vincent needs blood now." Chastened, Kezlo nodded to Nix. "Prepare for direct transfusion procedures." As the medical team worked to establish a safe transfer protocol, Kezlo's scientific curiosity battled with his medical urgency. The concept of blood types seemed so unnecessary and evolutionary inefficiency. Why would an advanced species maintain such biological diversity in something as fundamental as blood? The direct transfusion began, Elena's blood flowing through a sterilization field before entering Vincent's body. Unlike the violent reaction to the universal substitute, Vincent's vitals began to stabilize almost immediately. "It's working," Nix confirmed, her scales relaxing from their stressed dark purple to a calmer blue. Kezlo returned his full attention to repairing Vincent's internal injuries, now that the immediate crisis of blood loss was being addressed. His neural implant was simultaneously searching the medical database for more information on human blood types, feeding information directly to his consciousness as he worked. "Fascinating," he muttered. "Their blood cells have surface antigens that trigger immune responses if mismatched. A biological recognition system." Elena, still connected to the transfusion equipment, spoke up. "It saved countless lives throughout our history. Before we understood blood types, transfusions were often fatal. But why maintain such diversity?" Kezlo asked, genuinely curious despite the urgent situation. "Wouldn't a single universal type be more efficient?" "Evolution isn't about efficiency," Elena replied. "Different blood types offered protection against different diseases throughout our history. What seems like an unnecessary complication actually helped our species survive." Kezlo considered this as he sealed a lacerated blood vessel in Vincent's abdomen. The idea challenged his medical philosophy that biological systems should be streamlined and optimized. Perhaps there was value in diversity that his species had overlooked. Hours later, the surgery was complete. Vincent remained unconscious but stable, his body accepting Elena's donated blood without issue. The monitoring equipment now displayed reassuring patterns instead of alarming warnings. Kezlo stepped back from the surgical table, allowing his assistant surgeons to complete the final procedures. He approached Elena, who sat recovering from her donation. "Your colleague will survive," he informed her, "though his recovery will take time. I must thank you for your assistance. And for the lesson in human physiology." Elena nodded. "Sometimes complications serve a purpose. Our blood types might seem inefficient, but they're part of what makes us who we are." "Indeed," Kezlo agreed, his scientific curiosity fully engaged. "I would be interested in learning more about this aspect of human biology. Our medical databases contain the information, but I confess I never considered it significant until today." "Happy to help," Elena said with a tired smile. "Once Vincent is stable, perhaps we can arrange a more formal exchange of medical knowledge. It seems we both have things to teach each other." 2 days later, Vincent Cooper regained consciousness. His body was weak, but the advanced healing technologies of the Galactic Interstellar Hospital had already made significant progress on his injuries. Kezlo personally monitored his recovery, fascinated by how the human's body responded to treatments. "How are you feeling, Diplomat Cooper?" Kezlo asked, checking readings on the medical display. Vincent blinked, still adjusting to the alien environment. "Like I was hit by a shuttle." "Which I guess isn't far from the truth." He winced as he tried to shift position. The negotiations. The Centauri delegation. Have been postponed, Elena said, entering the recovery room. Your health takes priority. Vincent relaxed slightly, then looked curiously at Kezlo. The medical officer who was here earlier. Tren, I think. He said there was some kind of complication with my treatment. Kezlo's upper arms made a gesture that approximated a human nod. Your blood types presented an unexpected challenge. Our standard protocols were insufficient. Blood types. Vincent looked confused. That's basic medicine. Surely you've dealt with human patients before. We have, Kezlo acknowledged, but typically for minor treatments that didn't require transfusions. Our medical philosophy viewed blood types as an evolutionary curiosity rather than a critical medical consideration. Elena sat beside Vincent's bed. I donated blood for your transfusion. Dr. Kezlo here has been quite interested in learning about human blood types since. Indeed, Kezlo confirmed. I've spent the past 2 days researching the phenomenon. It's far more complex than I initially assumed. Vincent managed a weak smile. Who would have thought something so fundamental to us would be a medical revelation out here? Kezlo's membrane lids flickered in what humans had learned to recognize as thoughtfulness. It has inspired me to reconsider other aspects of xenomedicine we might be overlooking. Biological diversity often serves purposes we don't immediately understand. Over the next week, as Vincent's recovery progressed, Kezlo devoted significant time to studying human blood types. He discovered that beyond the well-known ABO and rhesus systems, humans had dozens of other blood group systems that could be medically relevant in certain circumstances. In the hospital's research laboratory, Kezlo examined samples of the 4 main human blood types under advanced microscopic analysis. Medical Officer Tren and Assistant Surgeon Nix joined him, equally fascinated by this new area of study. The surface antigens are remarkably specific, Nix observed, her 3 eyes focused on the holographic display. And the antibody responses are immediate and powerful. Yes, Kezlo agreed. What I initially dismissed as inefficient now appears to be an elegant defense system. The diversity provides population-level protection while maintaining individual specificity. Tren's tentacles manipulated the controls to enhance the image. Could we adapt our universal substitute to accommodate these variations? Perhaps, Kezlo said. But I'm more interested in what other aspects of xenobiology we've been overlooking. If something as fundamental as blood types has escaped our serious consideration, what else have we missed? The question led to a broader research initiative at Station Vermilion. With Vincent's recovery continuing steadily, Elena and the other human diplomats agreed to participate in a comprehensive study of human biological systems, comparing them to the station's database of alien physiologies. 10 days after the emergency surgery, Kezlo called a meeting of the station's medical staff. Senior physicians from multiple species gathered in the conference room as Kezlo presented his findings. Our encounter with Diplomat Cooper's emergency has revealed a significant blind spot in our approach to xenomedicine. He began, his 4 arms gesturing to emphasize key points on the holographic display. We have prioritized universal treatments based on the assumption that biological systems across species serve identical functions through identical mechanisms. Images of blood samples from 20 different sentient species rotated in the display. But as we've now seen, evolution takes diverse paths to solve similar problems. The human blood type system is just one example of biological diversity serving a purpose beyond our initial understanding. Dr. Vril, a gelatinous senior physician specializing in metabolic disorders, pulsed with skepticism. Are you suggesting we need separate protocols for every species variation? That would be impractical. Not at all, Kezlo replied. I'm suggesting we need a more nuanced approach that respects biological diversity while still seeking effective treatments. Our universal blood substitute works for 87% of known sentient species. That's remarkable, but not sufficient when dealing with exceptions like humans. The presentation continued, with Kezlo outlining a new research initiative focused on cataloging critical biological variations across species. By the end, even the skeptics were convinced of the need for this additional layer of medical understanding. 2 weeks after the initial emergency, Vincent was finally cleared to leave the medical facility. Though still requiring regular checkups, His recovery had progressed well enough for him to resume limited diplomatic duties. I'm releasing you on condition that you restrict physical activity and return for daily monitoring, Kezlo instructed, reviewing final scans of Vincent's healing internal injuries. Understood, Doctor, Vincent agreed. I've already arranged for the negotiations to take place here on the station instead of on Centauri Prime, so I won't need to travel. Elena, who had been a daily visitor during Vincent's recovery, smiled. The Centaurians were surprisingly accommodating once they heard what happened. I think they were impressed by the station's emergency response. Speaking of which, Vincent said, turning to Kezlo, I never properly thanked you for saving my life. I understand it presented some unique challenges. Kezlo made a dismissive gesture with his lower left hand. The challenge exposed a flaw in our medical approach, one we're now addressing. If anything, I should thank you for the invaluable learning opportunity. Vincent laughed, then winced slightly as the motion pulled at his healing ribs. Happy to provide a near-death experience in the name of interstellar medical advancement. As they prepared to leave the medical facility, Kezlo presented them with small data devices. These contained the preliminary findings of our research into human biological systems compared to other species. Your diplomatic status gives you clearance to review this information. Any insights you might provide would be welcome. Elena accepted the devices with interest. This could be valuable for future human travelers to prepare medical contingencies. Precisely, Kezlo agreed. We're also developing a modified blood substitute specifically compatible with human blood types. It should be ready for testing within a month. Outside the medical facility, Vincent paused to look back at the place that had been his home for the past 2 weeks. You know, when I took this diplomatic assignment, I never expected to become a case study in alien medicine. Sometimes the most meaningful diplomatic exchanges happen outside the negotiation room, Elena observed. This medical collaboration could save lives throughout the galaxy. Indeed, over the following months, the research initiative launched by Kezlo expanded to include medical professionals from dozens of species. The Galactic Medical Authority took notice, eventually establishing new protocols for emergency care that accounted for biological diversity more comprehensively. 3 months after Vincent's accident, the first successful test of a human-compatible blood substitute was completed. Kezlo personally oversaw the clinical trials, ensuring that all 4 major human blood types were accounted for in the formulation. In the research laboratory, he studied the results with satisfaction. The nanomolecular adaptation is performing exactly as designed, he told Nix and Tren, who had become his primary research partners. The substitute reconfigures its surface properties to match the recipient's blood type, preventing immune rejection. The principles could be applied to other species with similar recognition systems, Nix suggested, her scales shimmering with excitement. Exactly, Kezlo agreed. What began as a single emergency has evolved into a fundamental shift in xenomedicine. When the Centauri negotiations concluded successfully, Vincent and Elena were preparing to return to Earth. Before their departure, they visited the medical facility one last time. Diplomat Cooper, Kezlo greeted them, all 4 arms engaged in the human handshake gesture he had learned. You're looking well. Our scans show your internal injuries have completely healed. Thanks to your care, Vincent said. We wanted to say goodbye before we left, and to give you this. He handed Kezlo a data crystal emblazoned with the insignia of Earth's medical authority. This contains comprehensive information on human biological variations beyond blood types, Elena explained. Regional adaptations, genetic divergences, medical conditions unique to Earth, everything we thought might be relevant for future treatment of humans in space. Kezlo accepted the crystal with evident pleasure. This is extraordinarily valuable. Thank you. We've also arranged for a human medical specialist to be assigned to Station Vermilion, Vincent added. Dr. Sarah Jenkins will arrive next month to join your research team. Excellent news, Kezlo said. The perspective of a human physician will be invaluable. As they prepared to leave, Vincent asked, has your research changed how other alien doctors view human biology? Dramatically, Kezlo confirmed. The case has become required study for all xenomedical students. Blood types are no longer considered an evolutionary curiosity, but an essential medical consideration. Who would have thought my shuttle accident would lead to this? Vincent mused. Science often advances through unexpected challenges, Kezlo replied. What matters is our willingness to question our assumptions when faced with evidence that contradicts them. After Vincent and Elena departed, Kezlo returned to his laboratory. The data crystal they had provided would offer months of new research opportunities. But beyond the specific information about human biology, Kezlo valued the broader lesson. Biological diversity, even when seemingly inefficient, often served purposes that weren't immediately obvious. 6 months after the emergency that started it all, Kezlo was invited to present at the Galactic Medical Conference on Titan Station. Standing before thousands of medical professionals from across the galaxy, he recounted the experience that had changed his approach to xenomedicine. We had always viewed blood as a simple transport medium, he told the assembled audience. The notion that a species would evolve multiple incompatible variations seemed needlessly complex. But this perspective revealed our own limitation, not seeing that complexity often serves evolutionary purposes beyond our initial understanding. The presentation included case studies from a dozen species where similar, unnecessary complications had been discovered to serve vital functions. What had begun with human blood types had expanded into a comprehensive reassessment of biological diversity in medical treatment. The lesson extends beyond medicine, Kezlo concluded. Throughout the galaxy, we encounter diversity in biology, in culture, in thought. Our instinct may be to simplify, to standardize, to find the one universal approach. But sometimes the complexity itself is the solution, not the problem. The presentation received widespread acclaim, eventually leading to the establishment of the Galactic Initiative for Biological Diversity in Medicine, with Kezlo appointed as its first director. 1 year after Vincent Cooper's emergency, the medical facility on Station Vermilion had been transformed. A new wing dedicated to species-specific emergency care included specialized equipment for handling the biological variations of the galaxy's most common travelers. In the blood processing center, specially designed synthesizers could now produce compatible substitutes for over 50 species with unique circulatory systems. Human blood types were prominently featured in the protocol manuals, no longer an overlooked curiosity, but a standard consideration in emergency medicine. Kezlo, now both senior surgeon and research director, walked through the facility with Dr. Sarah Jenkins, the human physician who had joined their staff. "We've come a long way in a year," Sarah observed, watching the medical teams at work. It's hard to believe there was a time when human blood types were considered an irrelevant detail here. The most dangerous assumption in science is that we already understand everything worth knowing, Kezlo replied. Vincent's emergency shattered that assumption for us. As if summoned by mention of his name, a communication alert sounded. The holographic display showed Vincent Cooper, now back on Earth, but still in regular contact with the station. "Dr. Kezlo," Vincent greeted warmly. "I just received news about your initiative's new funding package. Congratulations." "Thank you, Diplomat Cooper," Kezlo responded. "The initiative has expanded beyond our initial expectations. We now have research teams on 12 stations throughout the galaxy. I'm calling with some news of my own," Vincent continued. "I've been appointed as Earth's representative to the Galactic Medical Authority. It seems my experience as your patient made me uniquely qualified for the role." "An excellent appointment," Kezlo said, his membrane lids blinking in approval. "Your perspective will be valuable as we continue to improve interspecies medical protocols." After the communication ended, Kezlo and Dr. Jenkins continued their rounds of the facility. They paused at Emergency Bay 3, the same room where Vincent had been treated a year earlier. "It's remarkable how one emergency can change an entire approach to medicine," Sarah said. "Indeed," Kezlo agreed, all 4 hands clasped behind his back as he surveyed the now upgraded Emergency Bay. "Before that day, I viewed blood types as an evolutionary inefficiency, a problem to be solved. Now I understand they're a solution to problems I hadn't even recognized." The emergency alarm suddenly blared, another incoming case requiring immediate attention. As Kezlo and the medical team rushed to prepare, the lessons of the past year guided their actions. No longer assuming that one approach would work for all patients, they quickly assessed the specific needs of the incoming species. The galaxy remained vast and diverse, filled with biological variations that challenged standardized approaches. But thanks to one human's emergency and the open-minded response of an alien medical team, patients throughout the stars now receive care that respected their unique biology. As Kezlo prepared to treat the new emergency, he reflected that perhaps the greatest medical advancement wasn't a new technology or procedure, but simply a new perspective, one that saw diversity not as an obstacle to be overcome, but as a reality to be respected and understood. In medicine, as in the universe itself, there was rarely one universal solution, and that complexity was not a flaw, but the very foundation of life itself.